Joining us live for our regular chat right now is El Paso Locomotive FC head coach Mark Lowry. Excited about this. We've got a special guest lined up also. We're going to talk to one of his assistant coaches, Matt Williams. And no, if you're asking, not that Matt Williams. He didn't leave his baseball career and join Mark with the Locomotive. At least he looks a lot. He's got more hair than the other Matt Williams. I'll say that. He looks a little younger too. But Coach, it's good to have you back. Appreciate you being with us as always. And I'm excited more than anything, Mark, that we are closing in on the start of the regular season. It's right around the corner. And I think the team is continuing to do it with what you want to see from them in these exhibition matches, especially what happened against Colorado Springs. And right now in place with, this season right around the corner.
Yeah, it's good to be back, Steve. Team's trending nicely. Couple of good results this past week in Tucson, and then on Sunday against Colorado Switchbacks, kind of a league rival of ours, which was good to kind of see them. The team's in good shape, moving in the right direction. Yeah, the season's getting closer and closer. We kind of get wrapped up in the day-to-day and just the process, and you look at the calendar and you're like, wow, it's almost May, so we better get focused on May 8th.
Now think about this. A year ago, there was no soccer. There was no sports. There was no nothing. Everything had been put on hold. So we kind of compare last year to this year, and there's no comparison. Vaccination rates are going up, and fans are starting to come back. Sports is starting to at least give us some sense of normalcy, and I guess that's what we're really hoping for the USL season. But I really thought your club did such a great job last year navigating through COVID that this time around, these guys just want to play, don't they? All they want to do is get on the pitch, do what they normally do their job, and have the opportunity to not have to deal with any interruptions.
Yeah, and even though we're still doing the protocols and the safety procedures every day, there is a sense of normalcy about how we're working. We're out there trying, like you said, we've actually got soccer around the corner, which, wasn't the case this time last year. We've got a 32-game season on the slate. So yeah, there's a sense when you just focus on the work, you can kind of forget about the other stuff and you feel like it's normal. And like I said, as the more shots go in arms, the vaccine rate goes up. Hopefully by mid-year, we are looking at something that resembles, something closer to 2019.
Do you feel like your club is ahead in preseason more now than they were last year prior to COVID?
Oh, we're miles ahead. Yeah, and I thought about that the other day, like comparing some of our current performances to performances during last preseason. This group of players is light years ahead of where we were. I just think we have the right group this year. We're able to push them harder and do different things with them, which I just don't feel like we were able to do last year. Partly because of the COVID situation, but also just the group itself, the makeup of this group. They're hungry. There's intensity from 1 to 22. And when you have that, you can push them harder in training and you feel like you can do more stuff with them. So we're in a real good spot.
I got to ask you about a non-soccer question for a second. I want to ask you just about coaching, for example. And you've been up for jobs, and you've had the job like the job here in El Paso and Jacksonville and other positions. I'm curious about this because I want to get your mindset just to get an idea of what a coaching search is like from a coach's perspective. Mm-hmm. Because right now they've got 5 finalists. They're trying to choose their coach, and we're hearing negotiations are going on. Now we're hearing that the school that they might want to, grab their coach from is trying to put together a last-minute deal to match the money that UTEP is trying to pay, which seems crazy. But, hey, that's what sports is all about. But when you're interviewing for a job and you're up for a position with other coaches, how nerve-wracking is it for you to go through the interview process and then the waiting game as you wait to hear if you're going to be the man?
Yeah, it's that waiting game. You tend to have 2 or 3 interviews, one like this over Zoom, and then one where you're in person, they fly you in, you get to kind of see the place and the city and where you'll be working day to day, meet different people in the office. And then you're kind of waiting, you feel like you've done a good job presenting, you kind of present your vision, which is an important thing. And I think the key part is that the 2 visions line up, the vision of the club, or whether that's UTEP basketball team or El Paso Locomotive, and the vision of the coach. Once we present ours, the club then, or the institution then kind of presents theirs to you. And then you decide, you both have a decision to make. Like, do I still want the job, but also is it a fit? both ways. So that the visions have to match up. And for me, it did here with Alan and Andrew and the front office and what the ownership Mountain Star Sports Group were trying to achieve. So that's a really important piece to it.
How long after your final interview were you waiting until the job was offered to you and the negotiations started?
It can be 5 to 10 days, once, and it also depends how many more people they have to interview after you, I guess. If you were the last guy to interview, they can kind of make a decision pretty quickly, but it's usually 5 to 10 days. And then, you have a good feeling about it, obviously, but there's that waiting game, which can be a little bit nerve-wracking.
And then one of the things you're probably asking once you have the job offered to you is, hey, what's my assistant coaching pool going to be like? So a guy like Matt Williams, who's with us right now, can come and join your staff for the second time, right?
Yeah, well, that's part of the presentation. Like, I would like to work like this in this environment. This is who I want with me. This is my vision for the team. And this is how I work. This is what I need. So, and that has to line up with the club's idea and philosophy and budget and what they see as well. So, being able to bring guys in like Matt, we obviously had Gabe the first couple of years. I know Gabe's been on this show before. He's not with us anymore, but, being able to bring guys in I'm familiar with really makes my life a lot easier.
I'm sure. And tell me a little bit about Matt, because we're meeting him for the first time here today on Sports Talk, and we're going to chat with him during this session here. When did you first get a chance to meet Matt, and how, in fact, did he impress you right out of the gate?
Well, from Jacksonville, to be 2018, I first got to know Matt, and it was just his work ethic that was the most important thing. And that's the most important thing about this job in general, and probably sports. It's you have to have a desire to work. It's long hours. It's maybe tasks and responsibility you don't necessarily want to do, but it's just part of the job. You have to kind of get your hands dirty and everything, and be willing to do those things, be a team player. And Matt showed that in 2018 in Jacksonville. He put a lot of hours in volunteering on my staff, essentially. And it was there that I noticed he has the resilience and the work ethic that's required to be successful. So it was from 2018, I kind of had him in mind to bring here. And
you mentioned the work ethic, especially volunteering. That's huge. I volunteered at this radio station right out of college in 1995, and they finally got sick of me, so they hired me in about 5 months later. And I don't know if you got sick of Matt. You might have said to your bosses, hey, you know what? This guy's really good. We got to get him on the payroll.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's this guy in my office every morning at 8 o'clock sitting here, spending 4 hours just observing and watching and soaking it all up? But that's what he did in 2018. So when we had the opportunity halfway through 2019, halfway through that season, to bring him in, and we felt a need to advance what we were doing from the video standpoint, and I felt Matt was the right guy.
Matt, what about you? I mean, your relationship now with Coach Lowry just described, and back to 2018. What made you decide to try to get involved with him at Jacksonville in the first place?
Yeah, Steve, I think just growing up in America, initially, like, soccer wasn't the major sport, but for some reason I took to it and I loved it, and I just wanted to be around it all the time. So initially as a player, and then as I finished playing, I started coaching. Just wanted to continue getting better and to continue improving as a coach and kind of working as far up the ladder as I could go. I landed in Jacksonville mainly working with the youth teams there, and knowing that Mark was there with the NASL group, just wanted to go watch him in training sessions and see if I could pick up anything for my own tool belt. And then in 2018, like you said, the opportunity to go and kind of be in the office and work with him a little bit closer was an opportunity. That was the whole reason I went to Jacksonville anyway. So I was obviously going to jump at that for sure.
Tell us about your playing career, what that was like prior to going into coaching.
Yeah, it was it's pretty typical American, to be honest with you. I played high school, played college, I played a little bit in the USL in 2010. And then I actually got an opportunity in 2011 to go down to New Zealand and play there for a year. So that was the only thing that probably isn't typical for an American. So just kind of, like I said, I was just so invested and in love with the game. I just wanted to be around it all the time and wanted to do things different, wanted to play overseas, wanted to just experience different cultures and all of that. So it was, soccer has been a massive impact.
Do you call the New Zealand experience, Matt, the highlight of your soccer career just because you get to travel and see some incredible places and be a part of that?
I don't know if it's the highlight of maybe the highlight of my playing career.
Yeah.
Yes. But definitely, I don't think I would call it the absolute highlight. The last couple of years here it's got to be at the top of the list. I mean, winning playoff games, competing for championships. That's what it's all about at a really, really high level. That's more of a highlight for me, even though it's as a coaching, in the coaching world. But definitely as a player, I would say that just being able to be in a different country, away from my family, experiencing different things, trying to figure it out. That was a very, very neat experience for sure.
Matt, it sounds like you're also the jack of all trades. You're an assistant coach. You're on the field. We're watching some of the videos of your workouts with the club. You're also doing a lot of video work. So sounds like you do a ton of different things in support of Coach Lowry and the club.
Yeah, I think I got started coaching and kind of talked to a couple of the coaches that I played for, and kind of just a little roundabout of how do I make it, how do I keep moving up, and a lot of their advice was to find something that you can do other than just coach to be a valuable asset. At the time, most of them were talking about being a goalkeeper coach, which I had zero interest in whatsoever. But funny enough, that's the first thing I did for Mark anyways. But I didn't know what that meant at the time, because video, when I first started coaching, was only just being started to be used. And it's just kind of as things progressed and the technology improved, and I was able to see what Mark was able to do, it was like just kind of latched onto something and wanted to help as much as I could, and now we just kind of run with it.
Now, were you a goalkeeper as a player?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No way.
Hang on.
Those guys are crazy.
Then Mark, what are you doing asking a guy who never played goalkeeper as a player to try to be a goalkeeper coach?
I never asked him that, Matt. You want to clarify that? I never asked him to really do that. There's always a need to jump in different places during training sessions and help out. And I think he helped out a little bit doing that early on. But no, Matt's never been a goalie coach for me. He's always had, I've always needed him in different areas, other areas.
Okay, that makes sense. And by the way, it sounds like more than anything else, as you become more comfortable with this club, Matt, and working with all the people on there, it's interesting because you've got players on this team that are younger than you. You have some that are probably around the same age, Matt, and there's some that might even be a little older than you. So what's it like adjusting to the different age gaps on this Locomotive roster?
I think in maybe some clubs it might be different, but here it's just the guys just want to get to work. They don't actually even think about the age part. They don't think about that as an issue. They just want to learn. They want to get better, and most of all, they just want to win. And that's all we're here to do, is to just help them win and get better. Every day, every week, and any information that I can give them that might help that, they're all aboard. They're asking for more video. They're asking for more sessions like that. They just want to win. So it's that hasn't been an issue whatsoever.
All right, great. We're going to come back more with Matt Williams and Coach Mark Lowry as we continue here on Sports Talk. But first, let's get right back to Charlie Wan and get this traffic update.
That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah, that's how I'm living. living. On top, we winning. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah, that's how I'm living. On top, we winning. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah, that's how I'm living. On top, we winning. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah, that's how I'm living. On top, we winning. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah, that's how I'm living. On top, we winning. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah, that's how I'm living. On top, we winning. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah, that's how I'm living. On top, we winning. That's how I'm living. Ain't no option, I gotta go get 'em. Yeah, that's how I'm living. On top, we winning.
I want to come back right now and continue our conversation with Locomotive FC head coach Mark Lowry, assistant coach Matt Williams. Again, the club is busy. Their opener is right around the corner. Mark, back to you. How many more tune-ups do we have in store before the season gets underway?
Well, we go to Dallas at the end of this week, play a couple of games in Dallas, get everyone 90 minutes, and then we have 2 more games after that. So 3 games, really 3 games for everybody to kind of get some minutes under their belt and get ready for May 8th.
Will they all be against USL opponents, or are we looking at perhaps anybody else that could be in the mix during those exhibitions?
Well, FC Dallas will be, part of their MLS team. It'll be a group of players from their MLS team, and then some from their B team, North Texas United, which are FC Dallas USL affiliate. We'll go to Monarchs, Salt Lake for a game. And then we'll probably get one in between just against the lower league opposition, just so we can stay close to home and get that extra game in.
Now, you told me that you feel like your club is far ahead of where they were this time last year. Who were some of the players? I mean, we did this a few weeks ago. We talked about players that have impressed you out of the gate. You told me about some of the conditioning of guys and how outstanding they look. Who are the players that have really been impressing you since we last spoke?
Since we last spoke, we've played a couple of games and scored quite a few goals, which has been good for us. We've worked a lot in training. So the attacking group's starting to really put some stuff together. Dylan Mahrez is kind of finding his shooting boots and that quality that we know he has. And Aiden Apodaca and Leandro and Luis Solniak and Aaron Gomez are starting to put some stuff together now as a forward group, which is looking really exciting for us. The stalwarts from before, from previous seasons, Mishak, Yuma, Richie, Nick Ross, Brian Rebellum, through the midfield and defense have just been their usual consistent quality selves. So now it looks like we've got the forwards that can put the ball in the back of it. So it's an exciting group. As
far as the newcomers go, how have they impressed you?
Yeah, great. Being eager to learn, eager to fit into the system and how we play and how we do things. They seem to be enjoying it, which is the most important part. When you see, Jose Aguinaga and Solniak and Apodaca and those guys that are new, that just enjoying coming in every day, working hard with the team, enjoying their teammates. It makes everyone's life a lot easier, and it means they're happy to be here, which means if they're happy to be here, they tend to going to work hard and put the effort in for the team and are willing to learn.
One of the other things that impressed you early on, the last time we talked, was some of the younger players, the 17-year-olds that were getting a chance to have a trial with you and show you what they're capable of and show you really what this pipeline could be like, especially perhaps players that in another year or so could very well be making their way on this roster.
Absolutely. There's a couple of local kids that have done really well. Joel Maldonado has come in and done fantastic for us. Edwin there that you see on the screen, Edwin Villarreal, has done a great job. And, we got a little young left back, Jimmy Villas Gomez, who's done great. And then, you've seen just this past couple of weeks how we've signed a 17-year-old Diego Luna out of FC Barca Academy, which is a huge thing for the club. It shows our commitment to young players, but also, we need these young players to have the quality and the desire. We're not just going to offer these contracts just to fill places. Matt said it earlier. We're here to win. So these young kids have to come in and help us do that. And so far, they really have, and they've impressed us.
I love it. And as far as the scouting goes for the younger talent, I mean, is the goal for you as you continue to develop your youth program here in El Paso to see coaches play the same style that you're used to so that by the time they are ready to make their impression, they're familiar with everything you do as coach and technical director for the Locomotive?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Steve. We, Matt, Dominic, who's our other assistant coach, and myself have been heavily involved in the academy teams, and they played this past weekend against New Mexico United's academy, and we were all out there. Matt was doing the team talks, making sure the kids were set up in the right system, the right shape, doing the right thing. So massively involved in that because we need these young kids, the Diegos here, Joel, like I said, to know how we play. So when they come in, they don't just have an understanding of the tactical side of it, but also the demands, that we put on them, the physical demands and the accountability they need to have when they come in. It's a whole different level, and we want these kids to be ready to step up.
I like what I see from Luna physically. I mean, you look at 17-year-olds. He does not look like your typical 17-year-old, especially wearing that jersey. He looks like somebody that's ready to go. And you tell me, how advanced is his game as you've watched him on the pitch?
He's not your typical 17-year-old. You kind of just said there, Steve. Size-wise, he's coming in, he's weighing in at 185 pounds. He's like a bull. He's strong as an ox. His brain functions like an adult on the field. He sees the game like a 27-year-old, not a 17-year-old. There's obviously maturing he needs to do, and we're here to help him do that. But we believe he has the foundation intellectually, physically, and technically to become a very good player.
I love that. I think that's phenomenal for you, and he'll have an opportunity to take that trip and then break the camp with the team during the season and go from there, which is exactly what you want. Matt, I want to ask you about the youth program since you're also helping out with that as well and the developmental part of the team right now. How are they coming along and how are they looking?
Yeah, it's a nice progression, a nice balance from when we first got here in 2019 of now we're able to bring these kids into our first team training environment, and there's very little drop off. There's very little learn. They've already got it. They're there. So that the talent is out there in El Paso for sure. And then obviously a couple like Diego who've been brought in from other cities. And now it's just about, as Mark mentioned, getting them to understand the physical demands, the mental battles that you have to go through at the senior level. That's really the biggest tasks for them. And so the environment that we try to put them in every night within the youth program is mirrors that. So when they come into the training with the first team, it's business as usual for them, and they're not in deer in headlights looking at how fast everything is because they're actually used to that themselves.
because it's so demanding, Matt, and Mark has talked about that, about how the reason more teams don't do this is because it is a very tough system to play. Can the younger players, do they grasp it easily? Or sometimes because when you're young and maybe you're not as mature as the older players, it takes a little while to really get that down?
Yeah, I think every player is different. Some players get the technical aspect right away. Some takes a couple months. Some takes a couple of years. Some for the physical aspect. Some have it already at 15. They're 6'3", and that's not an issue for them. So every player is a little bit different, and that's kind of our job as to facilitate what parts of their game that they have that are already ready, and what parts of their game that they need to improve on and work on in order to get to the senior team level. And that's the art of the coaching. That's the magic of it, is putting them in the environment, putting the demands on them that test them almost to failure, so then they can see what they're failing at and then work to improve that. So when they, like I said, when they do come into the first team, they're ready to rock and roll.
Mark, what's the status like health-wise of your club right now as you get ready to head to those final 3 tune-up matches in Dallas and around the country?
Yeah, we've done it. We haven't had any injuries really this preseason in terms of soft tissue stuff. We've pushed the guys incredibly hard, and touch wood that our luck with injuries continues this year, because I think it's always a key thing to being successful, right? You need the system, you need the buy-in from the players, you need the identity, the work, but you need a little bit of luck with injuries. Every championship-winning team will tell you the same, right? So we've been good so far. We've just got a couple. Fox is still a little niggled up. He'll be out another week or so, and Noel Logue rolled his ankle. A couple of weeks ago. So just 2 little ones, but nothing major. They both be available for the start of the season. So if we can continue on this trend, everyone should be available for May 8th.
Are you carrying any extra players on the roster right now? Any cuts potentially going to be made, or has everybody that's with you right now earned a spot already?
Yeah, we're in the position right now where everyone's on the bus and the doors are locked, and we're moving in a positive direction. No more cuts, no more players coming in. We are what we are. We're happy with our group. Everyone's bought in. Everyone's working hard. So we're in a good spot.
I know fans can't wait. They are super excited about getting back out there to Southwest University Park and getting ready for season number 3. And I know for you and the team, 2 great playoff runs the first 2 years, but now unfinished business, wanting to try to go all the way this season.
Yeah, and that's a message we've spread around the group. And you'll see the guys echoing that message on their social media accounts and stuff. We got unfinished business to attend to, and a lot of the guys have been with us through both those playoff runs. So the hurt and the pain of those endings is still inside of us, and it still burns. So we want to change that. We want to write our own script this season, and we're working hard to do that.
Coach Lowry, Coach Williams, excited about not just what we've been talking about for the last half hour, excited about the next couple of weeks, and look forward to doing it again with you guys before we crank things up on May 8th. That should be a lot of fun.
Yes, Steve. Thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. Really appreciate it.